Why does it take so long for people to see that the path they're on is so destructive?
You know, you're always trying to fill that void, especially with people in addiction. That's all it is.
It's so hard to quit because that's what you know.
Being sober does not make you happy. Without Christ, there's no fulfillment.
Government can't fix the problem. Families can't fix the problem. There's only one that can fix the problem, and that's Jesus. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Will Podcast, where our mission here is to inspire you with wisdom, inspiration, leadership, and legacy. And today on the show, we have Mr. AJ, one of the directors at Teen Challenge, the men's center here in Jacksonville, Florida. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Thankful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, I'm glad you were able to come. We have, through the church, we have a relationship with Teen Challenge. We have, for years now. So I'm very familiar. So let's speak to the camera. So tell the audience, what is Teen Challenge? What does Teen Challenge do? And let's go from there.
Gotcha. So Teen Challenge is a faith-based recovery program for adolescents and adults. And what we do is people get confused. Obviously, sometimes when you hear the name Teen Challenge, they're like, oh, that's not for me. But we don't just have adolescence programs.
Right.
It started through David Wilkerson, and it was because of some few teenagers that were involved in gangs, and he had this mission that he wanted to save these kids, so he started Teen Challenge.
Okay.
But over time, now Teen Challenge has broadened its spectrum, and we have adolescents, we have adult men and women centers. We get people in from the streets, we get people that are incarcerated. We don't discriminate. Mm-hmm. Hey, if you say that you need help, we have a place for you.
Okay.
We want to bring people out of their mess.
Yep.
We want to introduce them to Christ.
Yep.
Not just get them off drugs.
Right.
Because one thing I've found since following Christ, being sober doesn't get you eternity.
Right.
That's the nicest way to say it.
Sure.
So we believe that there's two factors to play into this, not just getting sober, but a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk about it all the time. I've come across guys that have been, free of addiction, free of alcohol, have been sober for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and are absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Right. That's one piece of the puzzle is, you're using the substances and you're covering up something, and you have that separation from God. And if we can help bridge that gap, then pure joy can come.
Yeah. Being sober does not make you happy. You can definitely get some temporary happiness from it.
Sure.
But, without Christ, there's no fulfillment.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. What's the purpose? When you don't know your purpose, it's easy to go down these rabbit holes and then you get stuck in them.
Right.
And getting removed from, having the addiction. Like for me, when I was 29 when I quit drinking, and I had spent 13 years in the bottle up to that point, multiple DUIs, multiple incarcerations, just lots of crazy stuff was going on in my life. And when I did get sober, I had to learn how to be an adult, right? I had to learn how to process emotions. I had to learn how to, now I'm getting angry, but I'm not drinking. And now I'm happy, but I'm not drinking. Because before it was everything, whether I was happy, was sad, indifferent, didn't matter. I was drinking.
You were drinking.
Right? So now I'm experiencing all of these different emotions and these different things in life, but there isn't that crutch to lean on. It's and it took years to get to where I could process life in a healthy way.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely can relate to what you're saying.
Yep.
It's not easy.
Yep. So, So how many men? So there's a men's center and a women's center here in Jacksonville.
Yes. You were going to say how many, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now we have 24 men.
Okay.
And I believe, I could be wrong, they'll correct me later, but I think they have about 19 women there right now.
Okay.
Our men's center is off Phillips Highway.
Yep.
And we have a women's center on the west side off 103rd.
Okay.
They got a pretty nice location for the women out there.
Yep.
It used to be the Hosanna House.
Okay.
For juvenile girls.
Mm-hmm.
So then Teen Challenge purchased the property.
Okay.
And turned it into a women's center, Teen Challenge.
Awesome. So you say you don't discriminate. So what's the criteria to get in?
Well, just being completely transparent here, because of liability purposes, the only thing that would stop somebody from coming into Teen Challenge is an offense sexual in nature.
Okay.
Beyond that, it does not matter.
Okay.
And it's not as if God's love is not good for them.
Sure.
Or, it's not, it can be a liability.
Sure.
Definitely we can still have a relationship.
Yep.
But beyond that, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The only thing that we need when people come into the program is a little bit of blood work.
Yeah.
We can get that and we'll get you started.
Sure.
You don't have to pay us a dime.
Yeah.
It's always great if you have a family member that says, hey, I'd like to donate toward their recovery.
Right.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
We want you to as well. But that's not a determining factor.
Sure.
We have a bed for you.
Awesome.
And we have 26 locations
Okay.
in our region.
Yep.
So we'll find a place for you.
Awesome. All right. So you could be here in Jacksonville, Florida, Northeast Florida, and potentially get a bed opened up in Orlando or
Kentucky.
Tampa or
New Mexico.
Yep. Okay.
I know New Mexico doesn't sound like Southeast, but we acquired a center in New Mexico.
Right.
So, hey, if you really need to get out of the norm for you and you need a fresh start, like we'll put you somewhere else.
Yeah. And I'm actually a fan of that. So, back in the old days of AA, people, places, and things, it's real easy for a guy just to walk away in his hometown.
Right.
Because he's got connections, but you go to New Mexico and you're from Florida, you probably have a little extra incentive to stick it out and put in the work to get your life to change.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's like, so yeah, maybe you're here, but maybe you need to go away for a little while, because it is a starting point for a new life. And sometimes that new life needs to come with one, relationship with Jesus, changing the associations of the folks that you've been hanging out with for all these years, as hard as that is to do, and start fresh. And too many people think that there isn't a way to make a fresh start. So that's why I love what Teen Challenge is doing, because it does give an opportunity to be safe, get shelter, food, an opportunity to work. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And also be in a position where you can be in regular Bible study and learn how God says we should live our lives. Absolutely. That's amazing. That's amazing.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital Contracting, multi-service licensed construction company. We are a certified roofing and general contractor. We do everything from residential to commercial roofing and all other construction services. If you are a homeowner or a commercial building owner and you have any roofing needs, from repairs to replacements to tarping, please reach out to us at 844-4DeVore or at the link below.
So how did you come to be in a relationship with Teen Challenge?
Where do I start?
Start at the beginning. We got time.
So, well, I was going to make a joke and start at my birth date, but I'm not going to do that. Give you kind of the condensed version.
Sure.
But I was 18 years old when my oldest brother overdosed.
Okay.
And that was like, we all have a starting point.
Yeah.
Well, that was my starting point.
Okay.
I don't blame anything on his death. Hey, this is when it started. I started looking in the wrong areas for the wrong things, got involved with the wrong friends. I was 18 years old. I tried meth for the first time, and it was over with after that.
Okay.
It was like opening a new door for me. It's called getting high, not getting low.
Yeah.
It was it was bad.
Yeah.
It was destructive. At this time, I was 18 years old. I was already married. Had a daughter, not yet my second one. Me and this guy thought it would be a good idea to rob a convenience store. So we set out to do that.
Right.
Well, it didn't end well.
Sure.
It was that night that we got arrested.
Okay.
I got put on probation. Was not able to successfully complete the probation. Violated the probation from a dirty urine, using drugs.
Yep.
Cocaine, meth, violated. Got sent to prison for 50 months when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
So 4 years, 2 months.
Yep.
Had a little bit of time served. I did about 36 months. 19, got out, thought I had it all figured out. Me and my wife are divorced at this time.
Okay.
So I'm just going to worry about me. That's pretty much where my mentality was. I had no mentality to get better while I was in prison. So, of course, when I got out, I just went right back into the same routine of that's the only thing I knew. It wasn't 18 months later that I was back in jail. And we can be completely transparent, right?
Sure.
So I was back in jail for a string of crimes, man. Fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, grand theft auto, possession of methamphetamines. I was just doing some things that I'm not proud of.
Sure.
Went back to prison, 24 months. While I was in prison, the second time somebody introduced Teen Challenge to me, I filled out an application. I got approved. But when I got closer to that EOS date, time to go home, I was like, you know what? I don't want to go to no program.
Right.
I'm not ready. And I didn't have any probation over my head neither. So I went home.
Yep.
Well, not coincidentally, but I wasn't out of prison for yet again another 18 months, a year and a half. I'm back in prison.
Okay.
Well, back in jail first.
Yep.
For a possession of methamphetamine. Same routine going back and forth. And somebody says something to me about Teen Challenge again in the county jail. So, and just to stop right there for a second, this isn't to glorify Teen Challenge, but God uses, God can do anything he wants to do.
Absolutely.
And he uses many things to attract his children.
Yeah.
And at whatever cost it takes.
Yeah.
So I'm in the county jail. Someone says something to me again about Teen Challenge. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And I went to court. I told him I needed drug help. The state attorney said, no, he's crying wolf. We're not giving it to him. And in my mind, I'm like, hey man, this one charge, possession of methamphetamine, only carries 5 years. I'll open plea to the judge. The most you're going to give me is 5 years, and I want this bad. It was like an inward cry for help. Like there was something inside of me saying, this is it, or this might be your last chance.
Yeah.
So I went in front of that judge. I told my lawyer. He told me what the risk was, and I was completely aware. I told the judge, I said, listen, I need treatment. And something, everybody has their things to say about judges, but this is just one judge that she's completely fair. But when I say fair is if she'll give you every year that charge carries.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that day she seen the sincerity in my heart, and she would not accept my open plea. And she told the state attorney and my lawyer that we need to come to an agreement because you have a young man crying for help.
Right.
Well, the end result of that was a plea that consisted of 13 months DOC.
Okay.
So I went back to prison for a third time, followed by 3 years probation.
Okay.
With the stipulation that I complete Teen Challenge successfully on the first attempt.
Okay.
So I go to prison. I get out. I'm out for about 30 days, and that flesh already starts going. I'm like, man, I don't want to go. Like, I got it over now.
Yeah.
Well, I told the the program manager at the time of Teen Challenge that I got COVID. I told him, I was like, man, I got COVID. I can't come in right now. This is when it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to get a test. And when I get the test back, man, I'll let you know what the results are. So it bought me like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I got the Teen Challenge. People were telling me to tuck in my shirt, and I was just like, man, this is not for me, man. This is not for me. And I walked off. I walked off the property. I told him that they were a cult.
Okay.
Like, man, this is just transparency right here. Like, man, I told them that they were a cult and that I just didn't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
I was telling them petty stuff like, y'all got my food stamps and you got me working at a car wash for free. It was just me not wanting to change. And it was me making excuses.
Yeah.
And the program manager sat across from me. He was like, you're going to go out there and you're going to get high. And I was like, nah, man, I got it beat.
Yeah.
I'm good. I go to the Greyhound bus station here in Jacksonville. I'm sitting downtown Jacksonville, calling anybody that I know trying to get a ride. Well, they called my family and they told my family, don't go get him. Like this is the breaking point.
Yeah.
This is what will catapult him either which way.
Yep.
My mom told me no for the first time the way she did in my entire life.
Yep.
She told me if I came to her house, she was going to call the police.
Yep.
Couldn't come there. I had a brother at the time that could have came and got me. He said, no, I'm not coming to get you. So I'm sitting here, no ride. It's raining. I remember it vividly. I'm thinking about walking I-10 back to Lake City because that's where I'm from. Teen Challenge and the vocational coordinator and the education coordinator, they came back to the Salvation Army right there by Greyhound, where I was at, 3 times trying to pick me back up. And being a director now and just knowing how we do things, if you make a choice to leave, we don't want you to leave. But if you make a choice to leave, that's your choice.
Right.
We're not going to do what they did. And man, it was in that moment, and I look back now, it's those times that we see in others what they can't see in themselves.
Right.
So I went back and I said a prayer. I said the most sincere prayer. My grandfather was a pastor for 50 years. I knew about God.
Sure.
I didn't know God.
Right.
I said the most sincere prayer I've ever said in my life. And I said, Lord, if this is where you want me, just please show me. Show me something. Make this real to me. I hadn't seen my kids for 7 years at the time. I had 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. Not had. Man, I hope they don't hear that. But, well, it wasn't a week later, their mother reached out to a staff member and just inquired as to how I'm doing. That alone right there was enough for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking to my kids on a weekly basis.
Awesome.
So it was just at that moment, it's like, this is what I want. I want a life that, man, it's hard to even describe.
Yeah.
When it hits you, it's just like, this is it. This is so much more important to me in my life. So I just dug down. I followed instructions. I was obedient. I had integrity. If they told me to do something, I trusted that they had my best interests in mind.
Right.
And I just did it.
Right.
There's hard times. And there was sometimes I wanted to be disobedient, and I was not perfect. But when you think that way, when you think like, this is my leader, they have my best interest in mind, man, you're going to make it so far in life.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that I try to preach to these guys. It's like, I am not going to do something to hurt you.
Right.
And if I do, I'm going to be held liable for it.
Right.
Whether it's by a man or God.
Yeah.
So,
and also too, you're not asking for any of these men to do something that you haven't done.
Absolutely.
Like that's the key. And I think a lot of people like forget that, I'm with the ministry that I get to shepherd over. I think people, they see me today, right, that didn't know me 15 years ago, right? It's a completely different person. And that's the testimony that God will take you from this to this and put you in a position to be able to impact other people for his glory, and that's why we must be as open and transparent as we can be about where we've been, not that we've decided to resonate in that memory. It's like, no, that's who I used to be. Now look at what God's done with me now. Right. And then people can see that, and people, because I praise God. It's a blessing that they tried and didn't give up, because the easiest thing in the world for somebody to do is to quit doing something that's different. Like you look at it in addiction, it's so hard to quit because that's what and we're instinctively stubborn, full of the flesh, full of our own pride, full of our own ego, and it's so hard to recognize, no, my decision making, the path that I have created for myself has just led to absolute destruction. But then when somebody says, no, you need to tuck in your shirt, and I need you up at 7:00 in the morning so we can go pray. Right. It's like, that's absolutely ridiculous. You were doing meth 48 hours ago. You were literally killing yourself, and I'm asking you to tuck in your shirt.
And probably doing it for 15 years.
Right. Yeah.
I am Will with DCRE, Devore Capital Real Estate. We want to help you with your buying and selling real estate transactions. We know in the economy and the market that we have today, everybody is telling you that it is impossible to buy or to sell. We know that we can get the deal done. Give us a call at 844-4DEVORE or hit the link below. Have a great day.
Yeah. So, so you dug in, completed. Okay.
Completed it. Thankfully, praise God for that.
Amen. And it's a year long?
It's a year-long
Okay.
program, and it can be more. It's a minimum of a year,
Okay.
depending on what you do.
Yeah.
But once I really dug in, I didn't get in much trouble.
Yeah.
I may have had a few conversations, but beyond that, I took it seriously.
Yeah.
Once you complete the program, there's a few opportunities for you. We have reentry programs where you can go get your own job, and you pay a little bit amount in rent so you can stack your money.
Yep.
Or you can go work at our thrift store. You can make full-time wages. Or if you feel called to Teen Challenge, Ministry of Teen Challenge, you can do an internship.
Okay.
But it's another year. Maybe.
Yeah.
It could be less than that. You get a little stipend. It's up to about $400 a month. Not much money. It's takes more dedication.
Sure.
But they take care of you. You don't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah.
You ain't got no bills to pay.
Right.
The most bill you're gonna have is your cell phone bill.
Right.
So you'll have about $350 left a month to do what you need to. And that's like a training ground.
Yeah.
Just because you pick to do an internship doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to stay here the rest of your life.
Right.
Who knows what God will do with you during that internship just by you being obedient to a ministry. Man, 12 months seems like a long time. Now that I'm sober, 12 months ain't. Man, that was, looking back at it now, it seems like, man, that was the best time of my life.
Yeah.
Just being poured into
Yeah.
for 12 months and not having the worries. Now I have the worries of a responsible adult.
Sure.
Making a paycheck, paying bills, taking care of my wife.
Yep.
Man, it was refreshing
Yeah.
to go through Teen Challenge. I told my wife one day, I was like, man, I just want to go back into the program.
Right.
I just want to, be told what to do. And so, anyways, yeah. And I did the internship. I got hired on about 10 months into my 12-month internship. I started doing admin, taking care of all the money, knowing now that you know who I used to be,
Right.
it was like, man, these people are crazy or they just trust me
Right.
and they see something in me that, that is not me any longer. It's
Right.
not, I wasn't the old person anymore.
Yeah.
Man, when they gave me the code to the safe, I was like, man, it was just like the Lord I got you.
Yeah.
Like you're a different person now. And then speaking to family members that only knew the old AJ,
Yeah.
because my grandfather got sick and he's passed away since then, but he got sick and I rebuilt that relationship with him before he passed. And I used to go over there getting closer, to his passing. And I got to interact with that side of the family and just talking with them and telling them about the things I'm doing now. And they were blown away.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense.
Right.
But, God does some things that don't make sense.
Awesome.
So just them giving me a chance. Teen Challenge does that.
Right.
Like we're going to give you a chance.
Yeah.
Like we're going to give you the opportunity that you've never been given.
Right.
Because we want you to succeed
Yep.
at whatever it takes.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you got to stay with us the rest of your life.
Right.
But we want to tell you that you're valuable.
Yeah.
You're trustworthy.
Right.
You can do it.
Yep. Well, and the hard part, one of the hard parts about it is there is structure,
Right.
right? But that structure is in place for your protection from yourself,
Yes.
right? And a lot of times, like family members mean well when their son or their daughter is using. They know it, they see it, they do it, but the behavior too often is enabling.
Yeah.
They want to keep them safe.
More so than not.
Yeah. They want to keep them safe. I spoke with a I spoke with a mother and a son a few years ago, and he was heavily addicted, and she was trying everything in her power to keep him safe and alive, but it wasn't getting him clean and sober. And I sat there with them. I met with him a couple of times, and the last time I sat with them, I looked at him and I said, "Do you want to die?" And he said, "No."
Right.
And I said, "But you're going to." And then I looked at Mom and I said, "And you're going to find him. So you have to do the tough love at this point."
Well, she's helping him get there.
Yeah. Like you have to, at this point, you have to say, you got to go. And it's not because I don't love you. It's because I do.
Right. For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And I said, "Listen," I said, "I can put you on a bus tomorrow." And we sent him to a place similar to Teen Challenge. And I said, "Listen, it's going to be a year of your life. It's going to be an entire different place with entirely different people. But if you stick it out, you will have something much greater than you could ever imagine." And he went. And Mom didn't have to find him dead. And he didn't overdose.
Right.
And he's been clean and sober ever since. And he's got a great job. And once he got to Alabama, he stayed there. He's like, "This is my home now," you know?
Yeah.
But it took tough conversations, you know, and it took telling Mom, "Hey, you know, you got to let go. You can't keep him safe from this thing, because this thing is not something that he's able to separate from."
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And when you have the structure and you have the people that have kind of been there, done that, understand, you know, like, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to keep you safe. I'm here to show you a different way. And, you know, that's amazing. You know, I think the need is so great. You know, me and Pastor Matt Poole were talking on the show. His episode just aired this past week. And one of the statistics that we talked about was, we saw that while overdose deaths have decreased, overdoses have increased, right? So we got Narcan everywhere, and lives are being saved, but Narcan doesn't change lives.
Right.
That's why we need programs like Teen Challenge to be much more supported than they are. We need much more spaces available for people to come into. And when we can get there, because it's clear, right? Government can't fix the problem. Families can't fix the problem. And there's only one that can fix the problem, and that's Jesus, you know? So let's talk for a second. So you were multiple trips in prison.
Yes.
You're not an anomaly, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, this happens a lot. Why does it take so long for people to see that the path they're on is so destructive? You know, like, just speak from your perspective for a second. Like, you know, each time you got out, there was a thought that you got this, but that thought didn't actually lead to a behavior change.
Right. I like to put it like this, and I think many people's stories are different, but you know, you're always trying to fill that void, especially with people in addiction.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're trying to fill a void, and getting high feels good. Honest. It feels good living that lifestyle, the fast life. But there's not... What worked for me is sitting down for an extended period of time and giving Christ to work in my life a chance. It's like, you know, we talk about, you know, "Oh, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian." Well, how much have you done to walk out a Christian lifestyle?
Right.
How much fruit have you seen from a Christian lifestyle?
Right.
You know, I used to see Christians so successful, and I would be like, man, I just wish I could genuinely live that life.
Right.
And of course, it might seem easy from the outside looking in, and it's not easy, but man, it's so beneficial.
Right.
It's so rewarding.
Yep.
So to answer your question, why is it so hard? I feel like it's not easy, and nobody most of the time we're not willing to put in the work because we're so caught up in the lifestyle.
Right.
Getting high blocks out so much hurt and anger, things of the past that we've had. It's so much easier for me to get high and live this lifestyle that I've lived for 20 years than go to work, take care of a family, go to church, live a biblical lifestyle. That's some work.
Yeah.
It may be rewarding, but to the addict, I'd rather just get high. And it goes back to the enabling thing you were talking about. Until that's another thing that can make it so hard. You have such enablers. Even my mom, the first time she told me no, it was like it's just something that just switched. Man, my mom finally told me no, and she said if I come to her house, she's going to call the cops on me.
Right.
Man, I'm somewhere that I don't even realize, obviously, because this is bad.
Yeah.
This is horrible. So I had nothing else to turn to. I was at rock bottom.
Yeah.
I only could turn to Christ. And he used Teen Challenge. And I just put in a little bit of effort and I gave it a chance. And I just seen the fruit that God started to work in my life.
Right.
And man, I hope this answered your question. But this is such a better lifestyle. And I think it's so difficult because there is work that has to be involved. And a lot of people are unaware of the services that are offered, are available.
Right.
Like, I mean, people may have heard of Teen Challenge, but, did you know that you could come to Teen Challenge for free? Like, did you know that we'll help you?
Right.
Whatever you need. Encouragement, encouraging people to get help, knowing that things are available. There is resources, and just putting in the effort to do it.
Yeah. No, I like it. You're right. It is an extremely difficult walk. But I think we make it to speak in general terms, we make the walk with Jesus much more difficult than it needs to be.
Right.
Because we try to mold that image of Jesus into something that benefits our need.
Right.
Right. And last night we were talking, it's a surrendered obedience life today. Tomorrow's gone, or yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Today is the day that you have.
Right.
So is today a life in which you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I was surrendered and obedient to the will of God in my life today, right? And if we do that today, and then again tomorrow, and then again, then a lot of the distractions in the world start to fade away in my personal experience because I'm not caught up in all of the busy. Because, okay, does he want me to do it? Yes? Cool. Then I'm going to do it. How do I define if it's God's will or not, right? Well, does it bring him glory? Right? Is it destructive to me? Then I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Right? Does it help push his kingdom forward here? Okay, cool. Then I'm going to do that. Part of the reason why we're doing this, because a lot of people don't know. Right? And a lot of people are not going to, you're not going to see a bunch of people that are, heavily caught up in the throes of addiction walk into the church and say, Pastor, help me. Right? That's rare. I've seen it, but it's rare. Right. But a family member of somebody, everybody, unfortunately, today knows somebody who is heavily addicted to something. The problem is just so rampant that, so hopefully somebody can see this and say, you know what, I've never thought about that because I've never heard of it. Right. So my hope is that by spreading the message, walking in God's will, we can, if we just help one person get clean and sober, it's worth it.
One person.
It's absolutely worth it, because then if that one person then goes and replicates what God has done in their life, then that's one more. Right. And then that's one more. And that's one more, and we don't have to overthink it. We don't have to get overly caught up in the doctrine debates and the theology debates and, should I do this and should I do that? Love your neighbor, love God, and do what he wants you to do, and I think it's amazing that you have then went from who you used to be to who he's molded you into. And I think it's going to be even more of an amazing miracle to witness the man that he continues to make you into 10 years from now, and then 20 years from now. God willing, you have that
willing,
much time.
That's right.
You have that much time left.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital. We are a multi-service construction, real estate, and development company. We do services from ground-up development to roofing services to real estate transactions. Reach out to us at 8444-DeVore or at the website link below.
So what's the biggest need that Teen Challenge has right now? Obviously, we're gonna dollars, right? It takes money to do this.
Yeah, of course, it takes money. Aside from money, awareness.
Yep.
We want people to know about us.
Yeah.
We want to bring people in.
Yep.
We have beds. We want to fill them.
Yeah.
That's our biggest need. Like, we want to bring people off the streets. We want to show them Christ through us.
Mm-hmm.
And just hopefully that spark takes place and that they change their lives.
Right.
Because it's a drug problem, but it's a sin problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we can cure the sin problem, we'll fix the drug problem.
Right. Well, and Jesus did that.
Right.
Right. And Jesus did that. And it's when you walk in that surrendered, obedient life, and it's like, okay, how do I become more like Jesus?
It just falls into place.
Right.
It's like, man, if I ask myself, is this going to be pleasing to the Lord?
Right.
When I make decisions,
Yep.
it's like, man, I literally used that before.
Yeah.
Like, I would ask myself, is this pleasing to the Lord?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Lord would be pleased with this. So, it's just continuous obedience
Yep.
over time, gradually.
Yep.
You're not going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But biggest need, awareness.
Yep.
Letting people know that we're available to help.
Yep.
That we're here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of that awareness too is I think there's a denial of the extent of the problem.
Yeah.
Right. And if I deny the problem, then I'm not seeking out solutions to it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Why would you?
Yeah.
I ain't got a problem.
Yeah. I don't have a problem, and it's just like how we live our lives, like I know I have a problem, but I'm going to deny it till the end of the earth and just keep doing because then if I don't acknowledge it, then I don't have to do anything about it.
Right.
I can just continue to keep it and I can own it. Right. And when we find that place to where we can submit and say, okay, enough is enough. I want something different.
Right.
My hope and my prayer for everyone is they don't have to get to that place of total desperation. However, I do understand the mind of somebody who's heavily addicted because I was that guy.
Right.
That's what it took.
I never had a problem.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what it took. It got to a place where, man, I don't even want to live anymore, and God sent people to intervene that saved my life long enough to where he could save it forever.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what, you have a new T-shirt made for Teen Challenge, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you all royalties for it. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, man.
So awareness. There's also some opportunities to engage with Teen Challenge for various services that y'all provide.
Yeah.
For a fee to the community. You want to speak on those for a little bit?
Yeah. So we don't get government funding.
Yeah.
So what we do is we let people come for free.
Mm-hmm.
But you earn your way.
Yep.
And also we have people that never worked a real job a day in their life. Not to get off topic, real quick though. When you've been in an addiction for 15 plus 20 years, whatever, you're not in the routine of living a regular life anyways.
Right.
It's just getting high.
Yeah.
So a part of our program is not just of course there's the secular part of it, getting you in a routine of a regular life.
Yeah.
Waking up in the morning, doing devotions.
Yeah.
Eating your breakfast. Devotions first. Doing devotions, eating your breakfast, getting ready to go to work.
Right.
Because these are the same things you're going to have to do when you leave here.
Right.
If we get you in a routine of doing that for a year, we're going to get you started at least on the right path.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we mow grass.
Mm-hmm.
We have about over 100 accounts here in Jacksonville. It's one of our biggest sources of income. We have 2 fully stacked landscape trailers.
Awesome.
Ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Your commercial, residential, mixture of both?
Commercial, residential. We're fully insured.
Mm-hmm.
We'll come take care of you. We do mobile detailing, landscaping. We do car washes throughout Jacksonville. Do some small repairs, depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we also contract labor through companies sometimes. We work for an electrical company right now, and we work for a janitorial supply company.
Okay.
And then our guys, they not only are these jobs helping us raise money for Teen Challenge, but some of these guys are learning skills.
Yeah.
I got these guys at the electrical company. I buy them a tool belt, buy them some drills, and they're learning stuff.
Yeah.
So you're not just going out there and not getting paid.
Right.
These guys are pouring into you also at this electrical company.
Yeah.
Come time for you to graduate, you think they're going to want to not hire you?
Yeah.
They're going to want you.
Absolutely.
So it's like, yeah, we've poured a year into this guy. Let's hire him.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do many things in the community, anything that we can do to raise money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not anything that's unsafe for our guys.
Right.
We're willing to do it. Yep.
No, I like that, especially when you talk about taking a guy from, off the street or close to off the street and putting him in a position to get clean, get sober, be safe, and learn some skills to where they can go back out,
Right.
and know how to do something, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens when you leave, right? That transition out of anything is difficult,
Yeah.
right? My transition out of the military was difficult because I had food, had a paycheck, had everything, and then one day that was gone. And then now I got to come back out and I got to start doing this thing again. Similar to coming out of a program, coming out of a treatment facility, a rehab program. It's like, okay, now I've learned some things. Now I got to come out and get started again. How does Teen Challenge help with that? What's the process for that? So I've completed, and now I'm ready to go out into the world.
It's probably the scariest time, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, I did this program. Now what am I going to do?
Right.
Well, we're going to help you.
Okay.
We're going to figure it out.
Mhm.
We're going to have some options for you, but you're going to have to be willing.
Yep.
And you got to make a choice.
Right.
Like I said earlier, you can, if you're not called to, do an internship at Teen Challenge, well, let's explore what else you are called to do.
Okay.
Maybe you are an electrician
Yep.
and you just don't have no place to go and you need some time to save some money,
Mm-hmm.
to get a car, to get your license back. Okay, well, we'll let you live on our campus.
Okay.
Provide you a place to live for a small amount of rent.
Mm-hmm.
So you can start saving money to get back on your feet, get your license, get a vehicle. Our reentry, even in reentry, we want you to commit to at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've seen people stay there for a year,
Right.
a little bit over a year. I mean, we want you to have some money saved up before you go. We want to set you up for success. And also, while you're doing that reentry, we're still going to be in your business.
Right.
Like, we're going to be in your finances. You're
Mhm.
going to do report your finances to us.
Yep.
Everything needs to be deposited into your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see what you're spending your money on.
Sure.
If you got cash, I'm going to want to see receipts
Mm-hmm.
because we do dumb stuff, especially when we get sober and we think we got it all figured out and we think we can dib and dab a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and be okay. It's just how we think.
Right.
It's how our flesh is.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in your business a little bit. That's one option. And the other option is we have a thrift store in Orange Park. You could go work at our thrift store.
Mm-hmm.
You could drive one of our box trucks or something. You may not be doing an internship for Teen Challenge, but you're still in the ministry.
Mhm.
You're still helping guys keep the door open so we can continue to tell guys, yes, you can come.
Right.
Even with no money.
Yep.
You can still come. We have a bed for you.
Right. And I love that you use that word because I believe when David Wilkerson started it, like that's what it was. It was a ministry.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's absolutely what it is, what it was, what it forever will be.
Yeah.
And people get put off sometimes by my bluntness, right? Because
Yeah.
you're looking at somebody who's heavily addicted, right?
Right.
Right. Jesus does love you, right? I'm not gonna not say that,
Right.
but the reality of the life that you're living is you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Right. And ministry should come with the truth, the full truth, the full counsel of God from cover to cover, and also the reality of the situation that folks are in. Ministry isn't always, Sunday school classes and sugar cookies.
Right.
Right. I got to love you enough, even if I don't know you,
To have tough conversations.
to have tough conversations, and I don't want to be in your business. Right? I don't want to have to know how much money you have and where you're spending it. Like, I don't want that.
Right.
But you need me to do that.
Right.
You absolutely need me to do that.
It's annoying. Like,
Yeah.
Why do I want to do it?
Right. Because I know that you need me to do that because I needed somebody to do it for me.
Yeah.
I absolutely needed that high level of accountability over my life. And then over time, as the fruit starts coming off of the tree, then I'm showing that I can do this thing and I can do this thing. And I think when you truly walk in discipleship, you see how necessary it is to have people ahead of you that's bringing you with them. And then when you replicate that model, you take somebody who is not quite as far along as you and you start to bring them to where you are.
Right.
And it's
discipleship.
It's discipleship, it's absolute discipleship.
It's important. I mean, it's hard to disciple. And I'm speaking about our center when I say 30 guys, because some of our centers have 70 guys.
Right.
But it's hard, I can only imagine. It's hard to disciple 30 men fresh off the streets that are used to nothing but addiction.
Right.
You're trying to pour into them something that they've never experienced in their life yet.
Yeah.
But like you said, I do have a testimony, so that's very similar to some of these guys.
Yep.
So it's easier to sit down, which they don't know it at first all the time.
Right.
But it's easier to sit down and tell them, like, bro, I've been in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I know where you were at.
Right.
I know the capabilities that God has and what He can bring you out of.
Yeah.
You just got to be obedient, man, and give it a shot.
Right.
So, man, discipleship. But you're right. It's not just about us.
Yeah.
It's about the next person.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's even the ministry Teen Challenge. That's what it's about. It's about getting, like I said, we want to fill the beds.
Yeah. Because it's absolutely 100% not about us. It's not about our testimony. It's about Him.
Yeah.
It's always about Him. And when you can get to that place of obedience and surrendering your life to Him, you realize that it's no longer yours.
Right.
Because it never was. Right. It's always been His. It will always be His.
Right.
So are you going to allow Him to use it for what He wants to be done? And the more and more, and I do believe that there's an awakening coming in the country in which we live in. I think just the chaos that is around with the amount of overdoses that are happening and the homes that are being destroyed and the lives, and because it's not just a singular person that overdoses. That trickles through an entire family, right?
Yeah.
That's taking a father or a mother away from children. And those children, because mom and dad did this, their likelihood of repeating that behavior, like we're creating generational curses in that. And I think we do have to talk about it more, talk about where we've been, give God all of the glory for where we're at today, so somebody can hear it and say, you know what, no, I can do something different. Like I can change my life right now in this moment. All I got to do is say yes. Yeah. We're going to have everybody out. That's the only decision you got to make. Because you're going to Teen Challenge, like we're going to make the rest of them for you for a while. Right? Right. You're just going to say yes.
Just be willing.
Yeah. Be willing.
Be willing to change.
Hope you're enjoying the content. I want to invite you to check out the Free Factor podcast hosted by myself, Scott DeVore, aka Free. I sit down with entrepreneurs, entertainers, musicians, all types of people who are bringing value and education and mindset. So check out the Free Factor podcast at the link below.
Be willing to change.
You were talking about overdoses, just real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's hard with ministry. Teen Challenge. I've gotten close to some people.
Yeah.
Even as a director, I got close to a guy, man, and so much potential. So much. Like, man, this dude was so talented. We'd go out and we would build things together.
Yeah.
We'd do little projects together. He was teaching me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And man, some things happened. He left. It wasn't a day later.
Yeah.
We got the phone call.
Right.
It was like, man, that type of stuff, when you get emotionally, spiritually involved with these guys, man, the tears just start coming.
Oh,
it's hard, man. It's rough.
yeah.
But, hey, man, God's got a plan.
Yeah.
He's got it all figured out.
Absolutely.
And we are right where He wants us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I've experienced that, when I see, let's just be real for a minute, right? The successes are much more infrequent than the tragedies, right?
Right.
Unfortunately. But when we see those success stories and we see those testimonies and we see people that are changing and we see lives being changed and families being changed, right? That's God's way, in my opinion, of him just refilling my spirit, because
It's refreshing.
it is absolutely refreshing. We had a young lady a little over a year ago that started coming to the ministry, and she was battling, and she was coming for a couple of weeks, kind of fell off, came back, and had a couple of days, and man, I was trying. I'm like I need to send you somewhere. You need to go somewhere for a while. And she's like, no, I got it. I got the support. I got this. And she had a young daughter, and she's like, it's going to be okay. So she came. We had a great service that night. She rededicated, her life and her commitment to Jesus.
Right.
And I was like, are you sure I can't send you anywhere? She's like, nah. She's like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay, Pastor Will. I'm going to be okay. And I said, okay. And I said, listen, I need you to promise me that before you do something stupid, you'll call me. You'll call me first.
Right.
That was a Thursday night. Sunday morning, her mother found her. And it's like,
It's heartbreaking.
it's absolutely just like, to know, like, because you feel it, like, you've seen it too often. It's pick up the phone if you need help. If you are a couple of days sober, you're 15 minutes sober, you're not sober right now, but you're seeing this, before you use again, before you make the next bad decision, call somebody. Come sit with me for a couple hours. Keep me from being me for a little while, because there are people that want to help. Like, you can feel as alone as you want, but I'm telling you, you can find somebody that will come and sit with you long enough to keep you from making that next bad decision.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So as we get ready to wrap up here, man, you got any words of wisdom, encouragement that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, just like you just said, if somebody is seeking treatment and they need treatment, well, we want to be a vessel. Like, we want to be used.
Right.
Reach out to somebody, pick up the phone.
Yep. No, I love it, man. So how somebody wants to help support what Teen Challenge is doing, how can they connect with y'all?
Yeah, so if you're looking for help and you need help, reach out to us. Our phone number is 904-398-0013. Hey, someone will always be available to talk with you, pray with you. We have a bed for you. If you need help, call us. We want to help you. 904-398-0013, or you can check us out online, JacksonvilleMensRehab.com. JacksonvilleMensRehab.com. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I like it. We got to keep it simple sometimes. So, again, everybody, I want to thank you for checking out this episode of the Will Podcast. We hope that we were able to shed some wisdom, inspiration, leadership, and legacy in your life. And I just want to encourage you, if you feel it being put on your heart by God to get involved with a ministry that is helping change lives, Teen Challenge is definitely one that I would encourage you to look at. If you need some more information and you want to reach out to me, just drop a comment below. I will get in touch with you as soon as we can. And again, thank you for checking out the Will Podcast. We'll see you next time.